Hi, and welcome to our Match Nest channel. This is where we bring a lot of our surrogates on to share their journeys and experience with Match Nest as well, bringing awareness to our surrogacy community. If you'd like to hear more of different stories to really help you gravitate to their choices becoming a surrogate, I would really encourage you to subscribe and follow along. My name is DeAnne, the CEO and founder of MatchNest, and today I have with me Karina. She is one of our surrogate coordinators, and then we have Jessica, who is an experienced surrogate. Started her journey with us back in 2022. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so
Thank
excited
you.
that you're here. It's been so long
It
since we've
has
seen each
been,
other, and
yeah.
so much has happened.
For sure.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name's Jessica, and I am from Rancho Cucamonga, California. I do have 3 children of my own and am married.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
a new, that's a new
That is
thing.
a new one.
Yeah.
And the third child, too.
And how old are
Very
your
nice.
children?
So my eldest son, he is 18 years old. My middle child is 15 years old, and then my youngest is 7 years old.
No! Yeah, she's not that old.
She's 7 months.
7 months old. She's just a
Congratulations.
baby.
Thank you. Oh my goodness.
See, I know. Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you're here because I really want to touch base on your journey because I think it's very unique in itself. Because Jessica was able to actually meet her now husband during her journey. So we'll get into that in a little
Mhm.
bit. But I first wanted to ask, what, if you can remember, wasn't
Sure.
that long ago,
Yeah.
but what was your experience like working with MatchNest to get started?
Honestly, it was amazing. You guys helped me out so much. I didn't even know where to start from. So I found you through a friend, and you were just amazing the whole entire time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Mhm.
really, surrogacy is something that I've been doing for so long and just being in the fertility field for many decades. Like it's like a second language to me. So when
Mhm.
people really are struggling with their fertility or want to actually get involved with surrogacy, I'm like, oh, do you have like an hour? I can totally talk to you about it.
Right.
And, part of like my mission here is just to really educate our girls
Sure.
through the
Mhm.
journey, really help them to get an understanding of what to expect, what's expected of them,
Mhm.
and also to be able to advocate as well. Because I think that like women, when they think about becoming a surrogate, they think that their lives are going to be totally controlled.
Right.
And it's not like that at
Right,
all. And
right.
then us with Matchness, knowing who you are, why you're doing this, and what you want out of it
Sure.
helps us to even advocate for our girls when we're looking for the right agency to match them with intended parents.
Sure.
So thank you for saying that.
Absolutely.
I really enjoy talking and educating our girls on what the process is like. So when we met with Jessica, we did talk a lot about what the journey is, and then what we did is we helped get her ready for her journey.
Right.
And by doing so, as we did a lot of the legwork for the agencies, we talked about compensation, came up on a good number that was agreed upon,
Mhm.
and what was the industry standard at that time. We gathered all her medical records, and I was able to get her pre-approved. Being in the fertility clinic for so many years before going into surrogacy, I'm able to know what the doctors are looking for.
Right.
Red
Right.
flags, yellow
Mhm.
flags, orange flags. And I really take pride in saying that if anybody is going to be able to get you pre-qualified for surrogacy, it is me.
It is you.
It is definitely me. I can. I have. We have a great network of providers and
Mhm.
agencies and good relationship that I know, hey, if you were on this medication for this long, this agency is going to be really good for
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
Or if this is the type of intended parents that you're looking to help, this agency is really good for you. So helping Jessica along with getting her started also not got her pre-qualified, but it also got you to the front of the line with our agencies.
Right.
So we were able to
Yeah.
get you matched right away.
Yeah,
How long
absolutely.
would you say, if you remember, it was between the time that we first met and then getting you
Uh,
transitioned to the agency?
Honestly, it was like super fast. I don't
Mhm.
maybe like a couple
A
weeks
couple,
or yeah, it
yeah.
was
Wow.
super really really fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
My journey was it picked up really
Very
quickly.
nice.
Yes, we have a
Very
tendency to be able to do that.
Yeah, which is nice. When
Yeah.
you're ready,
Right?
so
Yeah.
it was nice.
And also what we help to do is a lot of the legwork, right? So we have surrogates that come that are like, this is what I want, and I don't know what agencies to go with, or I've interviewed so many
Mhm.
agencies. Like, why do you want to do that? Like, if you're becoming a surrogate, you just want to get into it, like you said.
Right.
Mhm.
Let us do all that legwork for you, and to get your transition your care very easy, smoothly, and timely.
Right.
Yeah, so we can get from the moment that we talk and get applications to the moment we're transitioning you over to get matched with the agencies who have
Mhm.
the intended parents waiting. It can be weeks to just a couple months. Yeah. And the flip side is you surrogates actually going on their own, doing their research, then filling out an application and becoming the bottom of the list of however many applications those
Mhm.
agencies have got. So, how would you say the handoff between MatchNest and your dedicated surrogate agency was? Did you feel like it was seamless? And how did you feel supported during your journey with MatchNest?
Sure. So it was completely seamless.
Mhm.
My agent was great, but I also felt more comfortable with
Mhm.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That
that
I
happens.
still had, questions throughout my
Mhm.
journey that she helped me with.
Yeah.
So it was
Very
really
nice.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel very much so like we have talked and communicated, so much
We have.
before
Yeah.
you even get to that point where you're with
Right.
another agency, that it's very common for our girls to feel more supported and allowing us to be that middleman between
Right.
you and the
Right.
agencies, because there are sensitive subjects. And it's a good thing to be like, this is what I want. This is what's happening. Like,
Mhm.
do you think I'm asking too much of it, or
Right.
do you think that I should approach them with this, to be able to kind of bounce off those ideas with the middleman,
Right.
or even like have me
Right.
talk to the agency
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
advocate for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I,
Mhm.
I think that that's one of the great things too about working with Matchness, working with us to take all that stress off of you guys,
Right.
because all you guys want to do is just help a family
Yeah, and
have a
it's a
baby,
wonderful
get
thing.
pregnant,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like let us
It
do
really
all
is.
that other stuff.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And you
Mhm.
did. You guys, did it all very
Yeah.
nicely and
Thank you.
seamlessly and
Mhm.
great. You
Thank
were amazing.
you. Thank you
No,
so
thank
much.
you.
We try. We
Mhm.
definitely try. So tell me, how was your pregnancy?
My pregnancy was pretty easy.
Yeah.
I had a good pregnancy. I've had good pregnancies in the past with my
Oh,
other
good.
children, so it
Mhm.
smoothed very nicely. Didn't have any complications or anything.
Perfect.
And then your
Yeah.
other children, like, so how old were your two
Yeah.
Sure.
children before you went into the
So
surrogacy journey?
Matthew was 16 years old, and then Kennedy was 13.
Okay.
So it
So
was 13
yeah,
years
13 years since
since
I've had.
you've been
Yeah.
pregnant yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right.
And what were their like what was their reaction when you first told them that
At
this is
first, they
something
were
you're gonna
like,
do?
"What? Like,
Mhm.
why?" Like,
Yeah.
they
They
don't
don't
know.
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
They don't understand. They're
Yeah.
children,
And
But
mhm.
then as it went, they were so helpful because they're
Mm.
older. So,
Yeah.
like I needed something, they were there.
Very
They
nice.
actually got to meet the intended parents as well.
Oh,
Oh,
And
cool.
good.
so
Very nice.
we had a good connection with all of us.
Oh,
Yeah. So it was nice.
that is nice.
How did you tell them? And
Well,
how early in the process did you tell them, or
so
tell them that you were pregnant?
sure.
Mhm.
So I actually told them before I even, got pregnant. I
Okay.
wanted them to know
To know,
what was
yeah.
going on and what was going to be happening
Mhm.
so they weren't just like,
Yeah.
what?
Right, right. Very good.
And how I told them was I just sat with them and, just explained that this is what I was going to do. This is
Mhm.
something that I had been wanting to do for a
Yeah.
long time for somebody. Plus, it was going to, benefit us as a family as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And benefit, that's the thing. Like, you're doing this, of course, because it's something so beautiful that you're
Right.
able to do for a family who wouldn't be able to be a family
Right.
or
Right.
have children if it wasn't for somebody like you. But also, it's like you're benefiting your own
Right.
family in so many
Exactly.
different ways, like financially, the extra compensation is just, it's life changing for,
Right.
for anybody.
Absolutely.
And we really strive to, when we do our qualifying, to work with women who are financially stable. We don't want women that really need to live off of the compensation that they would
Sure.
make from a journey. That just
Right.
adds, way more stress than anybody wants for anybody.
Right.
So having that extra cushion of compensation, it's like, no, like this is gonna work for
Right.
everybody.
Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
sacrifice, but it's well worth it.
Right.
I always say that surrogates definitely gain their wings.
Yeah.
It's like this is like the best thing that we can do
True.
on earth for
It
anybody
really
else. This is
Absolutely.
like the greatest
Yeah.
act of being selfless and to do
Absolutely.
something so beautiful for somebody else. So were they surprised then when you were actually pregnant?
They knew it was coming,
Yeah.
so they kind of were like, "Oh," like when
Yeah.
I told
It
them, like,
worked.
"It worked. Hey, it worked. You're gonna
Great.
start seeing my belly grow now,"
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And they're older, so they kind of
Yeah.
were doing their own
Own
thing.
thing,
Didn't
yeah,
really,
that's true.
put too much into it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, right. They're just like, "Do you need some water?
Right.
But can
Are
you,
you
but can you
okay?"
take me somewhere? I need you to
Yeah.
drop me off." Being teenagers,
Goes
Oh,
by
right?
yeah.
fast.
Right.
Right.
It does go by fast. I think
Yeah.
so. And speaking of like how much time, I really feel that from the moment somebody says they're going to commit to surrogacy to the
Mhm.
end of their journey, which
Yeah.
is, when the baby's born, it's probably a good year at the
Mhm.
Right.
at the least, I would say,
Right.
Yeah.
because you have all that all the months that you're getting pre-qualified, and then you've got the time for matching,
Right.
and then you
Mhm.
have the medical clearance, right?
Right.
Mhm.
So I think when people think about, oh, I want to become a surrogate, and then they push that submit button
Right.
and do the application, they're like,
Mhm.
oh no, what did I just do?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get pregnant. Wait,
Right.
there's so much I have to do
Do
still.
first.
But
Right.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not even like that. It goes by, there's just so many different
Mhm.
steps that
Right.
have to
They're
be
kind of
taken.
like milestones, you
Okay.
look forward to this milestone and then, okay, this happened. Now we're going to do this. So
Yeah.
it's exciting. Like,
Mhm.
the milestones are exciting because
Yeah.
what you're doing.
One
and what
one
it's
more
gonna lead up
step
to.
closer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
speaking of milestones, I know that a lot of the agencies that Matchness partners up with, they celebrate those little milestones along the
Yeah.
way as well. So there's different bonuses, monetary bonuses. There's sometimes little special gifts that the agencies will give. So let's talk a little bit about the bonuses and such. So when somebody is a surrogate, there is a base compensation, and that is the bulk of what you're making or earning, I should say, that when you're pregnant. So you always have a
Mhm.
base compensation. Those payments are then paid out over typically it's divided over 10 months. And it begins after a heartbeat of confirmation. And right now, every year, as you know, with economy and
Mhm.
cost of living,
Mhm.
things are
Mhm.
rising. Base compensation does rise as
Mhm.
well. And so I can comfortably say that right now for base compensations, the average is starting at about $65 to $70,000 for a first time surrogate. A
Mhm.
lot of things contribute in that compensation. It's based on where you're located,
Mhm.
how clean your medical records are, um, and also where the agency falls with their intended parents as well. But yeah, it's about $65 to $70,000 with a base compensation. But then you get those extra bonuses, and that's a benefit package, right?
Mhm.
So that's where milestones are then celebrated. For example, like when you get legal clearance, you might get a bonus of maybe $1,000 or
Mhm.
maybe $3,000, depending on what your agency's benefit package is.
Okay.
When you start medications for your
Right.
fertility treatment, you get another monetary
Right.
bonus. And so those little monetary milestones, you get to earn money earlier in your journey, right?
Right.
Before pregnancy,
Right.
and it doesn't touch that base
Right.
compensation.
Mhm.
So I know that a lot of agencies I work with, their average benefit package is about $10,000 to $12,000 in addition.
Nice.
So when we're talking about an
Yeah.
overall
Mhm.
package, first-time surrogates are earning about $75,000 to $80,000.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
This is really amazing and life
Right.
changing.
And then in what step do you do the insurance? Or when you do you do that in the
Mm.
beginning?
Yeah. So did you actually have insurance that?
So I had insurance, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to use my insurance for the
Okay.
surrogacy.
Mhm.
So then we had to purchase
A policy
a
or-
policy
Okay.
for it.
Yeah,
Very
that's
good.
right. So a lot of the agencies, what they'll do is if you have your own personal insurance through your employer or your partner's employer, they'll do a verification check. They're going to number one see like, um, basically, does your insurance policy will it cover your pregnancy services
Mhm.
while you're acting as a surrogate?
Okay.
And some policies will have it like totally excluded that it is not a
Right.
surrogate friendly policy.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
That's
No
fine,
problem
yeah.
because there are.
Right.
Or they may say, yeah, we'll totally cover it. But we're
Mhm.
going to put a lien on that baby, which
Okay.
then, not the baby actually, but a lien on the policy.
Right. Yeah,
And they're like, a lien on the
I
baby.
know.
You can't have your baby until you pay off this
Yeah.
bill. Oh my God, that'd be horrible.
I know.
But what they'll say is a lien, because the insurance company wants to get all the funds back that they
Okay,
paid
okay.
to cover.
Right.
So that's not really financially beneficial for intended
Right.
parents because that is usually the amount of the compensation
Mhm.
doubled.
Okay.
So that's a lot of money up front. So what the agencies will do is work with their broker to purchase another policy. So
Perfect.
secondary policy
Very nice,
through the
yeah.
Affordable Cares Act because they are surrogate friendly. And regardless if your own personal insurance covered it, or you have to get that other secondary policy, that's not out of your pocket. So that is actually being paid for by the intended parents.
Right.
So had your insurance been Sero friendly, you would have been able to keep your insurance, your
Mhm.
doctors and such, and then the intended parents would have paid your premiums.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, and they did pay my.
They did pay your secondary.
right? The secondary
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
And then a lot of people ask too, like, will I be able to use my own doctors or do the intended parents pick my doctors for me? Like, how
Mhm.
involved are the intended parents in this whole
Sure.
process? I think
Yeah.
a lot of women feel like, are we going to be controlled by, these?
Were yours?
So no, I was
uh-huh.
able to choose my doctor that I went to.
Okay.
I just kind of chose somebody that was in my area and that would
Okay.
take the type of insurance.
Mhm.
And I was able to go to them.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
How involved were the parents with yours?
They were very involved.
Were they?
Actually, they
Oh.
would come down to go to some of the appointments with me.
Very
So they were
nice.
local.
So they were kind of local.
Okay.
But then they moved out of state to a different state.
And they
Okay.
moved out of state when you, in the middle of your journey?
They did.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that they maybe had asked of you to?
Did they ask you to follow a certain diet?
So
Right.
they just honestly they were just just try to be healthy, but they
Okay.
weren't very pushy about
Very
it or
good.
anything.
Yeah. Because I have
Yeah.
heard some of the women say that the intended parent will give them a card.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I only want them to eat organic food.
Yeah,
or,
and that-
they
yeah.
will.
That is
Uh-huh.
actually will all be talked about at the
Uh-huh.
time of matching. So
Right.
remember you
Oh,
had a
yes.
match call
Yes.
with intended parents,
Yes.
Okay.
and that's kind of a good
like a meeting. You have the
a meeting,
Okay.
and that's where you guys get to meet each other,
Oh.
learn about each other.
So I
Mhm.
I actually got matched with two different people. I don't know if you remember the first time
It didn't
work
work.
out.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
So that family did have more specific eating stuff
Oh,
for
okay.
me
Uh-huh.
than this family did.
Yeah.
And yeah, and knowing it
That's
ahead of
okay.
time.
Right.
Yeah.
If that would have been an issue for Jessica at the end of the call could have reached out to
Right,
her case
right.
manager and been like, "Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
It's
think
not going to work.
it's not going to work." Just because you have a meeting doesn't mean you have to be matched.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the purpose of the meeting, right?
Right.
To see if you guys, go well with each other, or
Right.
if there's any demands that you feel can't be
Right,
met. But
right.
we have worked with surrogates too that intended parents have asked, like, will you eat clean? Will you eat
Mhm.
organic?
Mhm.
And
no
when
soda. Or...
and exactly no caffeine.
But they do pay for it. They'll give you a credit card. You go to your
Well,
grocery store. How do you?
So
usually...
what I've usually seen is that it's like an added benefit.
Oh, okay.
So if there's anything specifically discussed with things like that,
Okay.
certain like demands or
Mhm.
asks, and it's agreed upon, it's
Mhm.
going to be in the actual legal
Oh,
contract,
Okay. Okay.
and then it'll be compensated. So if they
Okay.
want you to go do yoga, they're going to pay for that. If they
okay.
want you only to eat organic, they're going to pay an organic food
Mhm.
allowance, things
Okay.
like that. So
Very
there's
good.
never going to
Yeah.
be, there shouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
any surprises. Like
Right,
all of a sudden
right.
you're pregnant and they're like, "Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
stop eating that." And you're like,
Yeah.
"Well, hold on a second. It's actually not in my contract, so I can actually if I wanted to." But yeah, so that's a good question about like are there any kind of certain demands and
Right.
stuff like that. So back to intended parents and involvement. You said that they were able to go to some of your appointments.
They did.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's always so
yeah. It was
That's
awesome.
nice.
They were so supportive,
Mhm. Mhm.
They were just so thankful and
Yeah,
they just wanted
I
to be there,
know.
That's
know.
nice.
It's
Yes.
just it was great. Especially
Yes.
because I didn't have a partner at
Uh-huh.
that time, so
Okay.
it was nice to have that support,
Right.
know.
And not just like go
Right,
alone or like there is
exactly.
actually somebody I'm helping.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then not
Yeah.
everybody's allowed or able to do that because
Right.
logistically and stuff.
No,
But it is
right.
understood. Yeah.
But it is always so
Yeah.
sweet. And I know too, speaking with surrogates, that if their parents are not don't live locally or can't attend appointments,
Mhm.
often, that surrogates have like
FaceTime,
FaceTime
yes.
or a video call.
Right.
And, just so that way they could be a part of it in the
Sure.
room,
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that. So there's communication is so great nowadays.
Absolutely.
There's ways
Yeah.
to be involved without physically actually being
Right.
here.
And they would do like when they moved out of state, they would do like a weekly like check in with me to see how I was doing, things like
Nice.
that. So
Mhm.
Did you ever feel like they were too involved or called too much?
So
Or did you ever
honestly-
feel like it was a job?
for me, no, because it was their child,
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it was great. I was
Yeah.
happy to FaceTime them or talk to
Mhm,
them whenever
mhm.
they wanted
Yeah.
to because I was carrying their precious
Yeah.
life in me,
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's so sweet.
I
Makes me want to
know.
do it again.
I
And I
know.
wish I could. There are times where I'm just like, man, I wish I could just carry for somebody again. But I can't.
Yeah.
I'm too old. I'm too old and I've had way too many kids. Sorry, that's another episode.
Yeah.
All about my life and my kids.
But it's amazing you got to do it once.
I did.
Yeah.
And I really just, if somebody's really thinking about doing it, it's
Mhm.
we said it in our last episode, just do it.
Yeah,
you
just
know,
do
there's
it. Yep.
there really is like what would be things that you feel would hold you back, right? Like
Right.
besides just life, but
Right.
life happens.
Right.
Life happens.
And it doesn't hold you back, life. You keep,
It doesn't. You keep flowing. You keep going.
You keep
Yep.
going.
right,
Yep.
exactly.
Even while you're pregnant.
Yeah,
Right?
while you're pregnant.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask you about that in a second.
Yeah.
So with the insurance,
Uh-huh.
you were able to keep all your doctors, and that was with the secondary plan.
Correct.
So not
Yeah.
even your own personal insurance. So that worked out really
yeah,
well for you.
it went well. Yeah.
Mhm.
And did the intended parents have a say so in which hospital or doctors? Or
They honestly didn't have a preference or
Okay.
anything. They kind of let me, go with it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I think
Mhm.
sometimes being a first time parent for these intended parents, they don't even know, right? They're like, you've done it. We trust you.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
hospital you like. Well, we'll just be there. But when we're actually when agencies are looking for getting like a secondary plan
Sure.
or policy in place because maybe a surrogate doesn't have any insurance at all, we do ask. I like to ask, which is your hospital of preference to deliver,
Mhm.
who are your OBs, your top OBs that you would
Sure.
like to be with, because I know that when the agencies are looking to find that policy placement, they're going to try to get the policy that is like within that medical group, or
Okay.
the insurance is
Okay.
Mhm.
accepted, because we want our girls to feel comfortable,
Right.
as much comfortable, and
Mhm.
have control over this journey as well. It's your body, it's your experience. We want it to be pleasant, right?
Right.
And
Right.
Yeah.
nobody likes
Right.
delivering at a hospital that you're not familiar with.
Right.
I remember, I'm going to talk a little bit about
Mhm.
myself. So I have 5 children,
Mhm.
and my first 3 deliveries were with the same clinic, the same doctors,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
same hospital, which I love.
Yeah.
I love,
Yeah.
love, 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 love. And then I got pregnant with my twins, and my insurance no longer was accepted at
Aw.
my
Yeah.
OBGYN, and I was so devastated. And I had to find a doctor that was in network. I remember going to my first appointment and just being like, ew, I don't even want to be here. Like, this isn't even my hospital. I don't want to be here. I was so sad. And then I met the doctor, and he was so mean. Just
Ah.
bedside manner was
Oh.
not, it was not there. Not what I was used to.
Yeah.
And I remember a couple times, like second time or so, my second appointment, going home and talking to my husband at the time and being like, I hate it. I just
No.
want Dr. Gray. I don't want to be here anymore. And he's like, okay, just pay cash. Just pay cash. Call their office, find out how much it's going to be. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Mhm.
So then I call the office and I'm like, how much will it be? I'm already 20 weeks pregnant. How much will it be, to do the rest of the pregnancy and delivery? And they were like, oh, it's like $3,500. And I'm like, oh, that's easy. I'm totally
Right.
going to do that. And I'm like, oh, wait, I forgot. I have twins. And they're like, oh, it's double. And I'm like,
Oh.
okay, never mind. Bye.
Yeah.
So then I ended up like going the rest of my pregnancy and delivery with the doctor that I didn't want to be,
Mhm.
who actually ended up being an amazing doctor
Oh, good.
at
Yeah,
delivery.
very
He
nice.
was very good and very kind at the time of
Perfect.
delivery. So
Aw.
no hard feelings.
But what about with when you were the surrogate? Where did you go then?
Well, I was able to use my own insurance.
Okay.
Yep. And
Okay.
but that time I had to find new doctors and new
Okay.
hospitals, because I lived in a totally different
Different city.
area.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And
All
so
right.
being in the fertility field at the time, I was just asking my doctor, my fertility doctor that I work with, like, who should I go with?
Okay.
Very
Which
good.
doctor should
Yeah.
I do? And I actually switched doctors, because with my twins, I had an elective C-section. And
Okay.
I was so adamant about, I want to have a vaginal birth after.
Mhm.
And because I'm like, there was no reason medically why I couldn't have a C-section. It was just my choice.
Okay.
So I was with one group and I expressed that, and they're like, oh, well, we don't do vaginal deliveries after a C-section. So I
Oh.
was like, okay, no problem.
Mhm.
So then I went back to my doctor that I
Mhm.
work with, and I'm like, that's not going to work. Find me somebody else. So
Mhm.
then we found another doctor that was like, yeah, no problem.
Oh.
There's risks and benefits to everything.
Sure.
I'm going to tell them to you, but I have no problem doing it.
Nice.
And I had a successful vaginal
Oh, nice.
delivery after that
Mhm.
C-section.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
yeah, it was really good. So that hospital and that doctor was
Mhm.
perfect. It was
Perfect.
perfect. But yeah, so it is nice to be able to go with who you're familiar
Absolutely.
with.
Yeah. Who you're
Mhm.
comfortable with.
Yeah,
Mhm.
who you're comfortable
Yeah.
with, for sure. Um, Amazing. So we were talking a little bit about life doesn't
Mhm.
have to be put on hold.
Right.
Yeah, it does not.
It does not, and I love this story. And this is
Yeah,
this is
this
one
is
of
a good story. This is a good love story.
one of the good reasons why Jessica is here today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We talked about women feeling that their life has to be put on hold,
Mhm.
and for many different reasons. So we can have like a surrogate who's married and has her family, and they've just got big plans for the next few months or
Mhm.
even the following year. And they could be like, oh, well, I have a child that's graduating high school. Like, I don't want this to interfere with that. Or I have a really big family vacation planned or a
Mhm.
wedding planned. And I'd like to say is that even if you have these big plans, it's still worth doing the application, getting pre-qualified,
Mhm.
Right.
And then when all that is said and done, because nobody knows how long that process is going to take.
Right.
That can
Right.
take months, that could take weeks.
Right.
But when it comes down to, okay, you're pre-qualified and we're ready to move forward in the next part of your journey, that's when we could really start looking at what the timeline actually looks like. And come to find out, it might not even affect your plans
Right.
at all, or it might have a minimal impact on your plans. So I say in those type of situations is just go with it. If you want to do this, time is just getting away from you, and definitely go on our website, matchnest.org, apply to be a surrogate. Once we get the application, we will reach out and then talk about all these concerns you have and see how it's going to fit with you and your family. But then I talk to the surrogates who are single moms or young moms, and they just want to live life, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
well, if I'm going to get pregnant, then that means that's about a year that I have to put my life on hold, which kind of. I mean, there's certain things you might have to be
Right.
put on
Right.
hold, but not
Right.
everything.
Right.
And Jessica
Yeah.
is like the perfect person to attest to this, because Jessica met her now husband while she was actually pregnant.
Yes, this is
So
true.
tell us about that. I love that.
So yeah, so I actually met him while I was pregnant, and he was like, "Wow, you're doing an amazing thing! Like, this is
Very
awesome that
nice.
you're doing
Yeah.
this. Like,
So
it's so
supportive.
selfless,
Yeah.
of you
it
to
is.
do this, and maybe that attracted."
Yeah.
Your heart.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
My heart got him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ended up meeting him while I was pregnant, and then we did get married after the journey.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and now
It worked
we
out.
got our own little 7-month-old of our own now.
Yes.
So not 7-year-old.
Not 7 years, I know.
Very nice.
Yeah, so you met somebody.
We
You
did. I
built a foundation with somebody
Right.
during your pregnancy, and then progressed that relationship,
Right.
got
Yeah,
married,
absolutely.
had a grew your family,
Sure.
and I mean that in itself is amazing. Just that this doesn't affect your life in a negative
Right,
way.
right.
Like how can
Right.
any of this be negative?
Right.
Because it's just so
Right.
beautiful.
And then as far as like, if you're scared about like, or, it's in your contract that your partner has to get tested and things like
Yes,
that.
they do. Mhm.
Yeah.
We decided to wait just for the purposes of it. And then,
Oh, very
after,
good.
then
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
life goes on, right?
Yeah. It made it that much more
Yeah,
special.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you, for married couples, the involvement of their spouses it's they're involved throughout the whole process, but they do have to have sexually transmitted disease testing, and they will have to consent to background checks, criminal background checks, be a part of psychological evaluations, just to make sure that everybody's on board with what the goal is. Nobody's forcing others to do things that they don't
Right.
want to do, and that there's just a clear understanding about what everybody's role is in this journey for spouses alike. And then they do have to sign the legal contracts because you guys are a married couple. For those who are partnered or have a sexually intimate partner, that partner does have to get screened for sexually transmitted diseases as well. And if they're living in the home with you, they will also have to consent to a criminal background check. And they don't have to sign any legal. And it's nice for them to be involved in the psychological evaluation if they're a live-in partner. Just to make sure that everybody's aware of their roles and responsibilities of everything like that. So yes, you can still have a partner, have a boyfriend. Even if you get a boyfriend or a partner during your journey, just be open. Just
Right.
let your agency know, hey, I'm dating somebody. I may actually move it to the next step.
Right.
And as long as everybody's aware of it, there's no surprises, then we can do the necessary follow-up. Like, okay, no problem, let's get them tested.
Right.
And then that's something joyous that you'd want to
Right.
share with your
Yeah,
intended parents.
absolutely.
Also, like, hey, I found somebody. And
Right.
because when you have a relationship with your intended parents, it's not a job, right? It's a
Mhm.
friendship that you're
Right.
building. And
Yeah.
just like anybody else, if you have a new partner in your life, you're going to want to
Mhm.
probably share
Right.
it.
Right.
So it's not difficult. It's not
Right.
odd.
Mhm.
And it's something that everybody can just work through.
Yeah.
So, so what did, how, when you told him that you were
Sure.
tell me
Yeah.
about that. Was he like, what is that?
Yeah.
Is it your baby? Are you attached to
So
it?
exactly, and those questions always come up with
Common,
everybody, right? Like,
right.
are you gonna get attached to the baby?
Right.
You know, like, how are you feeling about it? Like,
Mhm.
Right.
different things.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I went in with a mindset, of like what my goal was and why I was doing it.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
I think just being strong headed like that,
Right.
it's of course you're human, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have some sort of
Right.
feeling towards a child.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's not yours.
It's
So
very easy to
yeah,
separate.
right.
It really is because
Right.
when you're growing your own child, you start thinking of the future.
Right.
Right.
What is my baby going to look
Yeah.
like
Right,
me? Is it going to
exactly.
act like its dad? Whether it's a
Yeah.
good thing or a bad thing, but or act like me, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah, you start getting emotionally
Right.
attached to the baby that you're going to bring in. But when you're
Mhm.
doing this for somebody else, it's
Right.
I feel that it's more of an excitement of
Exactly.
the end of your journey.
Right.
Right.
Because there's nothing can beat that
Right.
moment when you have that baby and that baby is given to their parents and they're
Absolutely.
just
Right.
like I'm getting goosebumps
I
already.
know.
Yeah.
And they're just like so
Yeah.
gracious and so
Absolutely.
appreciative
Yeah.
and just so caring and tenderhearted in that moment that you're
Right.
just like, I know what I did was
Yep.
good.
Right.
I know what I did was
Absolutely.
good.
That's the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
I kind of think it's kind of better than having your own kid.
Yeah.
A little bit,
Yeah,
right?
just a little bit.
A little bit, because then when it's yours, and it starts crying, and you're like, oh my god, I'm not gonna sleep.
Right.
I'm so
So then-
tired. What did I do?
So at the end, when you do give birth, there, his question was like,
Mhm.
are you are you okay? Like,
Right.
are you feeling anything? I'm like,
Oh.
no, honestly, like I feel great. Like you said,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that moment of their happiness, and then
Yes.
you get to go home and rest.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
you get to go home and rest. Exactly.
So-
Now, I don't encourage this, but when I did have my end of my journey, my sister brought me like some beer.
There you go.
And it was like our celebratory thing. I was
So-
like, oh yay!
So my friends actually they celebrated me
Yeah.
afterwards
Oh,
too. So
nice.
it was fun.
It was
Yeah,
really
it was
fun.
nice.
I had a lot
yeah.
of my girlfriends in
Yeah.
my
Very
room
nice.
with me.
Yeah.
It was, it's just like everybody's so invested in it,
Right.
and it's for a lot of people, it's new, right? Like I'm the only one out of my friends that they always hear me talk about fertility
Right,
because I've been
right.
in it for as long as we've been adults.
Mhm.
But when I was going through my own journey, everybody was invested in
Right.
it.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would be like, okay, I'm gonna get induced tomorrow. Okay, what time? What hospital? What time
Right.
are we gonna be there? And like my little team was there,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which it was just amazing. I had amazing deliveries
Yeah.
with my husband at the time, and those were all celebratory. But this was like different. It was just
Yeah.
like
Right.
so cool and so giving, and everybody there was just like rooting you on,
Right.
like almost like getting to the finish line in a big
Right.
race.
Yep. Mhm.
Big race. Were your
Yeah.
kids there when you delivered?
So they wanted to be there, but it
Mhm.
was like a little bit after like the COVID stuff. So,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
like
Right. They
only
were
one
not-
person in
Yeah.
the room and
Mhm.
things like that. So, it was who was in the room was my person, which was my mom,
Good.
and one of the dads.
Oh, very
Oh,
nice.
Oh, they let the two people in?
So they ended up letting
Or
the
did they
two
alternate?
people in. So no, they ended up because she was my person,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
obviously the
Perfect.
dad. So they
Yeah.
allowed that.
Very
Yes,
nice.
yes. I want to actually touch on that because that's amazing that you said that. Is that people always think like, well, who can I have in the delivery room? Because I always had my husband with me, or
Right.
I always had my mom with me, or something. You are able as a surrogate to have your person,
Right.
your support system,
Mhm.
and if the rules are only one person, you are the one who's going to be supported.
Right.
And unfortunately, the intended parents won't be able to be in the room for delivery. But that's hospital policies
Right.
because we need to first and foremost make sure that you're supported and you're
Right.
taken care of during this part of the process.
Mhm.
But most hospital nowadays, they're amazing and they're so keen to the whole surrogacy,
Right.
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
and they're really good at allowing intended parents to be in the room if the surrogate allows it,
Right.
because it has to be
Right.
what you're comfortable
Right.
with as well. It's
Exactly.
not something
Yeah.
that's just a right.
Right.
Um, and also, what I've seen is that intended parents are given a room for postpartum.
Yes. So we did have separate rooms. They were right next door actually.
Oh, how
Nice.
sweet!
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I had my own room and then they had
Very nice.
their room with the baby.
Yeah.
That's so,
Mhm.
yeah, and so they get to stay there until the baby's discharged.
Correct.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so sweet. So you got to see the baby a lot. Well,
I
after
did.
the birth.
So yes, the intended parents actually
Mhm.
Airbnb'd it for a month, right in my area, where I live,
Perfect.
which was actually nice.
Yeah.
Honestly, it helped with my, healing as well. To be
Yeah.
Oh,
able to see the
100%.
baby.
Yeah.
And I ended up pumping for them. So they would come every night to pick up
Okay.
what I was pumping.
Very
Oh,
nice.
and you got to see the
Yes, and I got to see the
baby.
baby.
That's so
Yeah, and I
good.
still get to see the baby once in a while through pictures.
Oh, very
They
nice.
do send me pictures, so that's nice.
Gosh, so
Yeah.
the baby is like
He's going to be 2 in
Two.
October.
a little
my
boy.
gosh.
A little boy.
Oh, how
Yeah.
sweet is that? 2 in
Yeah,
October.
2 in October.
Oh, I'm an October baby.
Yeah.
Those people are awesome.
They are. My husband's an October baby too.
Very, very cute. And so they
Mhm.
still live in the U.S. They just live out of
Correct.
state.
Correct.
And so the
Mhm.
communication is still there. And you've built a friendship, a relationship.
Correct.
There's a bond there that just can't be broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're so forever grateful, so it's
Yes.
just awesome.
Yeah. Have they
Blessing.
talked about siblings?
So they actually had one prior.
Oh,
And it
okay,
was
so this
through
was a
surrogacy
sibling.
as well.
Okay.
Okay.
And then this child was their second.
So this
it
one
was-
like maybe completed their family.
Yeah, so one dad did the first surrogacy,
Uh-huh.
and then the second dad did this surrogacy.
Oh, that's so
Okay.
common.
Oh,
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
good.
that's
Yeah.
very, very cool. Gosh, there was something I was going to ask you right now about it. I hate when that happens. Anyway,
Yeah.
we'll go back to that when it comes to my mind. But so you have a relationship. Oh, that's what I was going to say. You mentioned pumping.
Correct.
And so there is also extra compensation for pumping.
Right.
I know that
Yes.
agencies put into the contract that it's maybe $300 or $400 or so a week for each week that you're pumping. It depends.
Yeah.
Really depends on the agency and what you guys
Right.
come into.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if
If
you
you
do decide to
can,
pump
yeah,
and
you-
you can,
Mhm.
yeah, and then
That's
all the
great.
supplies they are
They provide them too.
yeah, they
Yeah, so
provide.
it's great.
if there's I've known unintended parents who live out of state or maybe even out of the country like in Canada or
Mhm.
whatever, but if the milk can be frozen and shipped.
So I actually ended up doing that. Once
You
they
did?
went home, I still
Oh.
continued to pump for them, and I
Mm.
would ship it to them.
How long
Yeah.
after did you continue
Not
that?
very long because
Okay.
it did end up getting a little too pricey, which
Okay.
because
Mhm.
of the weight of how much I was sending and whatnot. Like
Right.
it just like
Oh, to
yeah,
ship it.
to ship it. Yeah.
Oh, you were doing
So,
really well.
Yeah. So I stopped when they wanted me to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Very nice.
And so I wanted to ask, have you and your husband talked about doing another journey?
Yeah. We actually
Let's get
have.
serious here real
We
quick.
just actually the last couple weeks we've been talking about it a
Yeah.
little bit more, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I keep throwing it out there, like I really would like to do it, one more
Yeah.
time. It was a great experience, and this time you can be there.
Yeah, you're
So,
actually gonna be
yeah, and he's so supportive. He's like, I'll be there. I'll support
Very
you
nice.
this time. Be able to be there a lot more for you.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
then we're going to be
Yeah.
having a conversation
After.
that is a great. So I want to touch base a little bit on the different qualifications to be a surrogate. Is that we do accept applications from 21 years of age, ideally to 42, 43. But if you're 43, 44, let's still have a conversation. I actually had a surrogate last year deliver at 45. I have a surrogate right now who just completed an embryo transfer, who just had her
Wow.
44th birthday.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there are agencies that will accept women a little bit in older age and doctors as well. It's important to know that when an agency, it's not the agency that has the strict criteria. It's the doctors that they work with that have the strict
Mm.
criteria. So partnering up with MatchNest allows that the agencies and the doctors a much broader way of thinking, is because we know who we can send to, who's going to get qualified where, because maybe this agency only works with women up to age 35. Okay, cool. Maybe this agency works to age 44, 45.
Mhm. Okay.
Awesome. Maybe this agency only works to 40 years old.
Mhm.
Okay, but we have such a broad range of partnerships with agencies and doctors alike
Mhm.
that, like I already mentioned, if anybody can get you qualified,
Mhm.
it is
It's
me
DeAnne.
here. Go to matchnest.org, apply to be a surrogate, and we will definitely reach out, Karina or myself, and
Mhm.
get you started along the process. And at the very least, just have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jessica, that is very, very exciting.
I
And
know.
being an experienced surrogate, we can now negotiate a different rate of compensation.
Yeah. You get more for the
Yeah,
second.
definitely experienced surrogates. The second surrogacy can be about maybe $10,000 extra
Extra.
as what's going for the going rate
Oh,
now.
nice. Okay.
Um, so if we're looking at, let's just say we're looking at an agency that's offering a first-time surrogate in
Mhm.
California, 70,000.
Mhm.
You coming in as a experienced, we can get you about 80 to
Okay.
85,000 plus the benefit
Right.
package.
Mhm.
So, not saying that money is a motivating factor, but it definitely does help, and it is definitely life-changing, and
Right.
it's so
Right.
worth it for everything that our girls are going through for somebody else.
Right.
Definitely. Don't ever feel bad about that. That is, you're doing something that's just so wonderful, and you
Mhm.
should be compensated for everything that you go through.
Right.
Yeah, amazing. So
Mhm.
I'm excited to hear about that. I did not bring her on, by the way, to
Yeah.
to influence her on going through a second
Yeah.
journey. But I am excited that you say that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'd love to do it if I
Yeah.
could one more time.
Yeah.
I'm 39 years old right now, so
Now's
yeah.
the time to do
Yeah.
Yeah,
it.
now's
If
the
we're
time to
gonna
do
do
it.
it,
Yeah,
let's do it.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and so you guys are done with your family.
We
then.
are done with our family.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you
Our
mentioned your little girls
closed
a
it
lot.
up. Yep, she is. She is.
Very
At
good.
7 months, she hasn't even
Yeah.
hit 2 or 3.
She's definitely my hardest child.
Really?
Yeah, she's my hardest child.
Oh my gosh, she knows she's the baby.
Yeah.
That's why. Amazing.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to wrap it up here. I'd like to thank you, Jessica,
No,
again for
thank
coming
you.
down.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you guys
Being
for having
here.
me. Yeah.
Amazing.
You guys are great.
Thank you.
You are.
You guys are great. You guys need to contact
Love it.
them.
I love you
Likewise.
sharing everything about your journey,
Mhm.
because I think it's just an amazing story to tell. And I was very
Yes.
excited to bring you on
Yeah,
today for
Thank
that.
you. Thank you for having me.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. And then we'll talk soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, if you are ready to begin your surrogacy journey, I definitely encourage you to reach out, either send a text or call at 626-393-3861, or go down to our website at matchnest.org. Thank you and see you
Thank
soon.
you.